most of you are here today because you recognize that you have some room for improvement in the area of personal organization. Maybe you have that pile of mail or magazines or papers somewhere around your home. Maybe you have that room that you're just afraid to enter because you know in there waits for you the monster, right? Maybe you have trouble scheduling and your time and juggling all the many different things that you have to do in the course of one day. We lead very busy lives, very stressed lives in the world today, especially the way things are now. Or maybe you might feel that at your job you could stand to have your workspace organized a little better, maybe in your home office. There are all sorts of things that clutter finds its way into in our lives. And when you look at the situation today, especially the economic situation, everybody's all in a worry because they're concerned that, well, is my job going to be there? Is my bank going to be there? Is my retirement fund going to be there? You have things that you really need to do to make sure that all your affairs are in order. And a lot of people worry about the economic situation and all the other troubles that impact them, but a lot of people don't stop and think that proper organization or lack thereof impacts every aspect of your life. It impacts your health, because if you're not properly organized, you stress out. That affects your physical health and your mental health. It also impacts your work performance. If you're not organized at work, can you perform at peak efficiency? Can you get projects done on time? Can you work most effectively? If you're in school and you're not organized, when it comes time to study and hand projects in, disorganization can impact the quality of your schoolwork, therefore your grades, therefore the job you'll get after you graduate. And it also impacts your finances, because if you don't know how much you have in your bank account from month to month, what can you do? You can bounce checks. You can end up in situations where you don't have enough money at the end of the month to cover what you have to cover. So we're going to explore all the different basic aspects of organization, see how we can make improvements in those areas, and we're going to look at some of the root causes of clutter in our lives. But first what we're going to do is we're going to look at the basic different organizational types. Everybody falls into a few basic categories when it comes to organization. And I'm going to list these up here. Number one is the perfectionist. The perfectionist has to have everything done right all the time right now. And what that can tend to do is you go into a situation that may seem overwhelming and you think to yourself, if I can't do it all right now, then why even bother? So then you put it off. I see somebody smiling back there. Maybe you recognize that particular category. Next up, we have the ostrich. Now, what is an ostrich famous for doing? Does anybody know? Just
hiding your head in the sand.
Hiding your head in the sand, exactly. The ostrich approaches critical situations and challenges with the sense that, well, if I just ignore it long enough, it'll go away. It'll fix itself. And what happens? Problems don't go away. They just get more and more and more daunting as time goes on. Now, the next category we have, and this usually is a woman, and I'll tell you why. The martyr. The martyr is the person that feels they have to take care of everyone and everything around them. And they get guilty if they have to take time for themselves to tend to yourself. But if you're not taking care of yourself, can you take care of the other ones around you? No. We're going to talk about how to deal with each one of these different personality traits in the next section. Now, the next person we're going to come to is number 4, and that's the pack rat. I hear more giggles in the crowd back there. The pack rat keeps any and everything that swings into their orbit. Just like a big planet. If a meteor or a comet comes around, grabs it with its gravitational pull and keeps it there. Now, this is something I was guilty of myself. And I'll tell you how I had to finally come to grips with it. It was several years ago, before I met my current wife, I was going through a divorce. And at the time, we basically rented an entire home. So we had 3 bedrooms on the first floor, and we had a basement. Oh boy, I had fun with those rooms in that basement. I collected all kinds of stuff. I kept all the things from high school, all my memories. I even had my toys from when I was a kid. Now, I ended up with the toys because my mother called me one day and said, "Forrest, you got to come get these toys out of this house." And I didn't realize they were still there, so I went downstairs into the basement. There's my old toy chest. And I open it up, and all this stuff is in there. And as I'm looking through the stuff, I'm saying to myself, wow, I remember that, I remember that. And you get all these warm, fuzzy feelings and all these memories, and you don't want to part with it. So you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to take it now, I'll sort it out later. But you just can't bring yourself to get rid of it. Why? Because you're the pack rat, and the pack rat has to keep everything. But when I got divorced, I moved from that big house to a studio. I had to downsize. I'll tell you how I dealt with that later, but I came face to face with that at that particular point in time. Now, the next personality trait that we're going to deal with is the crammer. Now, some of us had a problem with this in school. I know I did. I was the king of crammers. I remember when I was in high school, I was fortunate enough to get into the High School of Art and Design to pursue my passion. Obviously, I'm not doing that now. But you know, you graduate with all these hopes and dreams and then life hits you. But anyway, I remember in my senior year, 3D modeling class, the teacher said, you have 2 choices. You can either do all of the assignments that I give you in class, do homework, do exams, or you can do 1 year-long project and your entire grade will be based on that project when you hand it in. Me being the lazy person that I was, guess what I picked? I picked the 1 project. I let the entire school year go by. End of the semester was Monday. Guess when I started my project? Friday. Came home from school, I started laying out the house and drawing it. Then the entire weekend, my hand was sore, was cramped. I had an X-Acto knife cutting out patterns and things like that to put the whole little house together. I got an A on the project, great, but I didn't have to wait that long. The crammer, in the organizational sense, waits until company's coming over. And then you're running all around the place and you're grabbing stuff off of this and you're shoving it into this area and you say, all right, I'll deal with that later. But does later ever come? No. Because when company comes over again, you grab stuff, you open up your storage page, oh my God, I forgot that was in there. And bam, you're throwing more stuff into it. Crammer waits till the last minute. We're going to talk about how to deal with all of these different personality traits and how to overcome them. Tips that we can use.